hours.
By 1957, John Wire had been appointed general manager of Aston Martin Lagonda, and Reg Parnell, having retired as racing driver, had stepped in as team manager. Early in the year, the team came to Oulton Park for the Empire Trophy race. Noel Cunningham-Reid drove the last of the DB3Ss, while Roy Salvadori was entrusted with a DBR1 still with its 2.5-litre engine. From the start, Salvadori chased Scott Brown with the Lister Jaguar. In spite of having a gearbox problem throughout the race, Cunningham-Reid finished fourth, but this was the year of Scott Brown and the Lister Jaguar. The first overseas event for the team in 1957 was at Spa, on that super high-speed road circuit in the forest of the Belgian Ardennes. Brooks and Salvadori came home in first and second place ahead of 4 D-types, but as Brooks will explain, the omens were there. Tony tried to change down from fourth to third, but the box stuck in fourth. He eventually managed to force it out and went on to win the race with Salvadori second. The next outing was at the Nürburgring, and that was to turn out to be one of Tony Brooks's greatest races. Partnered by Noel Cunningham-Reid, Brooks and the DBR1 led almost from start to finish. The second car was driven by Salvadori and Les Leston, and that finished sixth, having done the last 8 laps, and that's a long way in the old Nürburgring circuit, stuck in fourth gear. The CG 537 problem had struck again. The Automobile Club de l'Ouest reverted to an unlimited capacity formula for 1957, and after the disappointing attendance figures of the year before, they were right. With their 3-litre engine, Astons were at a disadvantage on paper. They entered 2 DBR1s and the DBR2, a one-off using the chassis of the 1955 Lagonda Project 166 and the new 3.4 DB4 production engine bored out. Being untried, it was given to the Whitehead brothers to drive, Peter and Graham. The DBR1s were in the hands of Brooks and Cunningham-Reid and Salvadori and Leston. Once again, the gearbox gave trouble and both cars stuck in fourth gear. As a result of this, Tony Brooks crashed at Tertre Rouge.
Leading from the 3 Aston Martin. Moss is lying well back after a bad start. At Mulsanne, Jean Debienne has moved up into second place, with Bueb in number 3 Jaguar, splitting the Aston Martin. On to Indianapolis and Arnage. Back yeses, Brooks is past Collins and the Ferrari is already in trouble.
Well, in 1957, I was driving at Le Mans for Aston Martin, and I think I was partnered with Noel Cunningham-Reid, which we'd had a successful partnership in the Nürburgring 1,000 kilometres, or we're going to have, I can't remember. And we were partnered together at Le Mans that year, and Noel Cunningham-Reid brought the car in to hand over to me at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was we were second, in fact, in the race at that particular time, and he told me that the car was stuck in fourth gear. I'd had that trouble in a couple of races earlier that year, and I think one of them was the Belgian sports car race, and I'm not even sure they didn't call it the Belgian Grand Prix that year. And I'd managed to get the gear out of fourth and to win the race at Spa, the Belgian Grand Prix. So I thought, well, at 3 o'clock in the morning, with 12 hours plus still to go, there wasn't much future in touring around in fourth gear, dropping slowly further and further down the field. So I thought, well, I know the answer to this one. So on the first lap, you know, I start trying to graunch this lever out of fourth, and was so busy, you know, looking down and you know, trying to get it out in the way I'd done at Spa. And I entered Tertre Rouge, you know, far too fast, because I suddenly looked up and thought, you know, I passed my braking point. So I slapped on the brakes, and the mistake really was that I almost got round. If I just sort of clouted the sandbanks, it would have been all right. But I almost got round, and as the sandbanks were chamfered down to the road like that, the car started to run up the bank and flipped over, threw me out and trapped me underneath the car. And this, as I was saying, about 3 o'clock in the morning, so I was lying there underneath the car, unable to get out from under it, waiting for the next car to come round Tete Rouge and run over me. So I had a fair bit of time to think, or so it seemed, and fortunately the next driver round was Maglioli, and as he was always a gentleman, he came round the corner and knocked the Aston Martin off me, and I got myself up a bit sharply and hopped over the sandbank, and spent about 2 weeks convalescing from that one just before the British Grand Prix, which is another story. So that's what happened. It was a stupid mistake on my part, and I did learn from that and another accident I had with a BRM in '55 not to try and compensate for defective motor cars.
The Salvadori Leston DBR1 also retired, and ironically the DBR2 was also stuck in fourth gear and retired as well, although this was a more normal gearbox in the conventional place. What an advert for a gear-cutting company. The race was won by Ivar Bued and Ron Flockhart in the Ecurie Cos D-Type with a new 3.8-litre engine. In fact, Jaguars filled the first 3 places after a succession of blisteringly fast 4-litre Ferraris and 4.5-litre Maseratis had gone out in the hours before midnight. Peter Collins equalled the lap record from a standing start on lap 1 with the Ferrari 412, and later Hawthorne in a sister car achieved the first sub-4-minute lap at 126 miles per hour. The team returned to Spa in August that year for the Belgian Grand Prix, which was run for sports cars. Brooks won with an ailing engine after resisting repeated attacks from Olivier Gendebien with the faster 4.1-litre Ferrari. Every time Gendebien came within striking distance of Brooks, one of his tyres burst, allowing Brooks to win without stressing his engine beyond its limited resistance. It was later discovered to have a porous oil gallery. Had Gendebien been able to keep up with the pressure on Brooks, it would never have lasted the distance. The year ended with a trip to Silverstone, where the 2 larger engine DBR2s were wheeled out for Roy Salvadori and Noel Cunningham-Reid. Brooks and Stuart Lewis-Evans had the DBR1s to make up a 4-car team. But with the extra power of the 3.7-litre DBR2, Salvadori was able to hold off Archie Scott Brown and the Lister to win Aston's first victory over Archie.